Friday on Night Rider, the semi's hijacked.
All right, let's get them.
Production 60221, The Wrong Crowd. This episode was written by Gregory S. Dinallo and directed by Chuck Bale. It originally aired on NBC Friday night, 8 p.m. on November 1st, 1985. It was filmed from September 9th through the 17th of 1985. It was the 68th episode to air, but the 70th to be produced. The synopsis reads as follows. While searching the road for a shipment of vodka, Scott Hollander and his cohorts unknowingly hijack the Foundation semi. So before we dig into this, I have to say, we've been referencing The Wrong Crowd a lot lately. Mainly in relation to the semi trailer. I can't emphasize how much the details and the scenes we see in this episode helped us to identify the trailer. So, The Wrong Crowd, some of you guys like this episode, some of you don't. To me, this episode was always a good one. I always enjoyed this episode. But now having that connection with the semi and really analyzing this episode, it's actually a really, really good episode out of season 4, in my opinion. And of course, my opinion is clouded because of the acquisition of the semi. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and dig in. All right, so we have Arquette Industries here, once again being filmed at the College of the Canyons in Valencia, California. College of the Canyons, as you know, has been filmed. They use this filming location a ton in the show, starting all the way back in Deadly Maneuvers. It was also in Knights of the Fast Lane. It was in Night of the Chameleon. And really just a bunch of other episodes. Those are the only two that are coming to mind right now. But here it is once again. Is this the last time? Oh, Night Strike was another one. Is this the last time we see this filming location in the series? It might be. I'll have to go back and check. All right, so we see Michael cruising around in the convertible kit. As you guys probably know from my previous videos, the convertible kit was technically the last Knight Rider car built for the series, if you think about it. Now, of course, they had the trailer convertible as well, the one that was used for insert shots where you see the top going up and down, which was built from a Trans Am, but it was a Trans Am shell that was cut in half. But in terms of drivable kit cars, this would be the very last one built for the series. Take a look at this. You may have noticed this, maybe not, but there's a strut under here. And some of you guys might be more familiar with why this would be in place than others. This is not something I've ever seen on a Trans Am. This was custom added. But what would be the point of it, right? Something for the front suspension, I'm guessing. But what do you guys think? Why is this yellow strut here? We see this strut much, much better later on in Night Flight to Freedom. Here we go. Not to take a sidebar on this, but yeah, take a look at that. You can see it much, much clearer there. This strut is no longer on the car. This is one of the 5 surviving Knight Rider cars. This strut, however, is no longer there. So what do you guys think that was used for? Also, I mean, I know this isn't the Night Flight to Freedom commentary, but take a look at KITT's fog lights. These are different fog lights than all of the other cars had. They're a little bit more rounded here. These are a different model than what you see on the other cars. All right. And speaking of cars, let's talk about how many cars were used in this episode. We have, if you include the trailer convertible, we have 10 cars used in this episode. We, of course, have the hero car, right? And notice how this dip in the rubber nose is getting more pronounced. It'll get a little bit more pronounced as the rest of the season goes on. And the car today still has this nose, and it still has this dip in the bumper, which is really cool. All right, so car number 2 in this episode is obviously the full-time convertible. By the way, if any of you guys want to go see this car, it is at the Deezer Auto Museum in Orlando, Florida. It's parked right next to one of the 6 officially licensed Knight Rider Tour cars and the Knight 4000 boat car from the Knight Rider 2000 movie. We've got the right-hand blind drive car, just for this brief scene. The first hardtop stunt car, the one we've seen since season 1. The general purpose T-top stunt car. This car first came into play at the beginning of season 3, and it's one of 2 vehicles, 2 kit cars in season 4 that do not have the upgraded rubber front nose. This car and the right-hand blind drive car both had the carryover nose from season 3. So here we have the left-hand blind drive car, the season 4 insert car. This is our hardtop stunt car, the one you might have seen on Jay Leno's Garage. The full-time Super Pursuit mode car. And finally, the trailer convertible car. This is the one that actually kind of transforms. So those are your, 10 kit cars. So here's a close-up of the inside of the trailer convertible car, the one that's being towed. And you can see they just had like you can see it in the actual episode, this black fabric is kind of fluffing in the wind. And also take a look right here. There's a seam in this fiberglass here, and you can see as they're bouncing down the road that this is coming apart. So I think this might have been a 2-piece design on the original trailer convertible. On the actual drivable car, it was a 1-piece design, but you can see that those are kind of separating there. Also, there's no countdown in this car, which is normal. Most of the cars where you don't see the dash don't have a countdown in place. All right, so now we see RC driving in the semi. Whenever we saw the semi used heavily in 10-Wheel Trouble in season 3, they actually used a completely different rig for the insert shots on the inside. And that's mainly because in that episode, you had to see Sally Flynn coming through the so-called sleeper into the cab. She surprised her mom. But in reality, the actual semi never had the sleeper attached. It was a fake sleeper, and behind the driver was just a window. So they couldn't use the actual Knight Rider semi-tractor for that scene. However, in this episode, we are seeing the actual screen-used Knight Rider semi-truck. And what's pretty neat is, you can see the stripes on the hood. And notice this. You see this red under here? Well, some of you guys who have watched our videos on the semi-tractor, we did one right after we revealed that we had rescued the tractor. We did a video talking about how the semi was painted red between seasons 3 and 4 for a TV movie called Steel Collar Man. And what you're seeing right here are remnants of that red paint. So when they repainted it to black after painting it to red between seasons 3 and 4, they missed some spots, right? This is under the cowl, just a very little bit, but enough for us to see. And also, take a look behind RC. See how they have this black, they have a black board with gaffer's tape around the edge. They did that because in reality, this is just a window, and they needed to create the appearance that it was actually a pass-through to the sleeper. And some of you have also talked about, so RC is supposed to be so-called watching a show, right, in this TV right here, this box here. In reality, I'm not sure what this was. There's no mounting holes right here that would indicate there was something there. So it's probably just like a piece of cardboard or something painted white, something very light duty that they put there to make it look like a TV. All right, and of course we've talked about this ad nauseum on our semi-trailer videos, but this bar right here was added to the trailer specifically for this episode, for this scene, so Andy Gill, the stunt guy, can climb up the side of the trailer. This bar would remain on the trailer throughout the rest of the series. And same here. So this is Andy jumping from the trailer to the roof of the sleeper. They also added this bar here. And it was not on the show prior to this episode, but it would remain for the rest of season 4. So this is the extent of the stunts that the convertible car did. Now, remember, this was actually a V6 Firebird, a 1982 V6 Firebird, so very low-powered car. They never bothered to put a V8 in it or really change anything on the drivetrain, because this car was never meant to really do anything spectacular, right? But in this one scene, Jack Gill did a 180 in this car. Now, most of the Knight Rider cars were equipped with brake line lock systems, which would easily allow Jack, you press a button on the floor and it easily allows him to spin it around. This particular car never got a line lock. So what Jack's doing here is literally he's yanking the emergency brake, and that's allowing him to spin the car around. One of my favorite goofs in the episode is the RC's Peter Perra's stuntman, and you see his back brace here. So we asked Peter about this many years ago. He said, John Sherrod actually took the fall. He was my first stunt double. It was great stunt work. And then Peter goes on to say, it's not the best shot because you can see a lot of pads, and I don't think the stunt guy really looked like me. Despite that, Perros does remember this episode fondly. He said it was a fun couple days. The location was really remote, and there were plenty of motorcycles to test ride. So here we have Scott Valentine. This was his TV debut, I believe, and he would go on very shortly after this to become a regular on another NBC series, Family Ties. All right, so let's stop a minute and talk about what we're looking at here. I can't tell you, over the years, as I've been trying to hunt down the trailer, how many times I analyzed and analyzed and analyzed this screenshot to see if I could read anything from this tag to help identify the trailer, the serial number, something. And believe it or not, I mean, I can't read the serial number, but believe it or not, we were able to determine a number of things based on the font of the tags and doing research on Dorsey trailers and when they had these fonts, that we were able to narrow it down to a date range. And we were even able to kind of see a serial number enough to know that it was a shortened serial number. It's just all kinds of ridiculous stuff that we've done. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least comment on that here. Again, this episode provided so many amazing details on the semi. And look here in the corner, you can kind of see some of the original white paint from when it was white in season 1 poking through there. And by the way, if any of you guys can identify this label right here, this label, or provide information on this metal, it looks like this was a metal shroud with a clear center to put an insurance card or registration card in it. We need to find these two pieces for our trailer restoration. So take a good look, see if we can identify either of those two things. Okay, moving forward, we've got this mom and pop's diner. In reality, this is a gas and towing auto repair shop. It's actually Castaic Auto Repair, and this building was used a few times in Knight Rider. It was Cali Family Garage and Trucking in Night Moves. We saw it from the backside in Speed Demons. We see it in this episode. We'll see it in Hills of Fire. Boy, I feel like I'm missing one, but this building, believe it or not, is still there. And you see he's running towards where the semi was parked, which was right across the street. So if we go look here, so there's the building. In fact, this auto repair sign, take a look. It's actually the exact same auto repair sign. It says "and auto repair." But back then, you can see it used to say Castaic Towing and Auto Repair, or something like that. That's been faded over the years. And all they would do on Knight Rider is replace this top piece with gas towing, and auto repair was still the same. But if we look here and rotate around, this where these RVs are stored now is where the building was, where the semi was being hidden. And of course, it's no longer there now. And down, if you were to go down this road, Riggins Distributors from Night Moves was down here. It's torn down as well. But yeah, so you can still go see this building. We actually stopped there, I forget what year it was, 2018 maybe? Yeah, it was 2018. We stopped in here and talked to the owner, and it was pretty cool. All right, so then we get our first look at the Ferret. In this episode, it's called what? An experimental wheeled drone. But the Ferret is also what it's called. So this Ferret was repurposed from the vehicles from the old 70s show Logan's Run, the TV show. or maybe it's the movie. I can't remember. One of the two. Anyways, and they've been repainted and repurposed. And we actually did a whole video on our channel just on the ferret where we talked about its history. It was used here. It would eventually be used in like a Pepsi commercial, and it made its way over to Europe, and then it kind of disappeared. But that is the history of the ferret in a nutshell, but I encourage you to check out that video if you want to learn more. All right, so then we have KITT talking to a hitchhiker. This is on Del Val Road in Newhall, California. What's interesting here is in this initial scene, you can see this is the hero car, right? Look in here, you can see the lights on the overhead console. We know this is the hero car. Well, immediately after that, we see this when Michael calls KITT to back up and meet him. And then we see this car. And you can see, so look at the difference. So there's the overhead console. You can see the tow bar here. And then we move forward. And look, the overhead console is blank. This is now the left-hand blind drive car. So they literally took this car, moved it out of the way, moved this one in its place. And then when it backs up and we see this is a totally different car. So we see the car back up, then it cuts, then we see this car. This is that general purpose stunt car with the season 3 front nose that we just talked about. All right, and here we have another commonly used Knight Rider filming location. This is also on Henry Mayo Boulevard in Castaic, right near where the the auto repair shop was. In reality, it's this RM Piles boys camp. But we saw this building in 10 Wheel Trouble in season 3. We'll see it again in Hills of Fire. And this ATM, this is a fake ATM they put in here, but this is the same ATM we saw back in KITT versus Carr in season 3, where the John is activating the old ladies there, and all this money spits out, and he gives her some money. It's a gift from the age of technology, a gesture of respect. All right, so here we have this is our car, one of the two we own. And what's neat about The Wrong Crowd, again, another reason why we have a personal connection to this episode, this car and the semi, which we now have, were both physically together, used in the same episode in the same scenes, like right there. So this whole scene right here where you see KITT parked, this all, again, took place right here. So here's the towing business. KITT's right here, right? He's there. He's literally parked right here. And the semi during these scenes was literally right over here. So it's pretty neat to be able to say this is one of only 2 episodes confirmed where the semi's used and this car is used. The other one was Night of the Juggernaut. So it's kind of rare to have the 2 cars together. Interestingly, Night of the Juggernaut also uses our other screen used car. So that would be the only episode that has both of our screen used cars and the semi in it. All right, moving on. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention about our car. So earlier in the series, and we talked about this in a few of our beginning commentaries for season 4, this car had an experimental front nose on it, I guess you could say. George Barris came in season 4 and resculpted the front nose of the Knight Rider cars. But he had one nose that was resculpted more angular like this, but it still had turn signal indents. And our car, this car, got that nose for a few episodes in season 4 before it was replaced with the nose you see here, which more matched the other Knight Rider cars in season 4. And this is the same nose that is still on it today. Also, this is the debut of our car with tinted windows. And this tint would remain on the car for decades. When we got the car in 2008, it still had the tint on. It was all purple and bubbling and peeling off, but it was all still there, and it was all originated from this car in this episode whenever it was being used for filming. So I like this. Michael is pretending to be Sharky, one of the bikers, and you look at it, and this guy gets off, and what's his name, Hollander, comes up and says, "Hey, Sharky, you took a bad spill there," and he doesn't realize it's not Sharky, but he's like staring right at his face, and I have no idea how he doesn't know it's him. Because then you see this close up, his head's tilted, but clearly he should be able to tell that that's Michael Knight. Because remember, they already met in Pop's Diner earlier in the episode, but I guess that would kind of ruin the plot point. All right, and then we have the wonderful Matt McComb here, a Hasselhoff stunt double, and he does this awesome flip kick, whatever, which is just really cool. In the background right here is one of the Universal Studios transportation trucks, and I think this might be 2. This is the truck we saw KITT was being hauled in A Good Night's Work when he was deactivated, right there. So I always liked these angles of this F.L.A.G semi because clearly there should be a wall here, right? And this computer normally sits inside of that wall unit. But whenever they film from this side, they actually remove the wall, they remove the wall unit, and they just have the computer sitting on a little table here so they can get that angle. But normally this would all be enclosed in a wall unit. So what's interesting is for some reason they also blacked out the semi's windows in this episode. Now, when we got the tractor, they were no longer blacked out, but for some reason they were blacked out in this episode. But I actually think it makes the truck look really cool to have them black out. All right, so many people have asked me where this filming location is, or was, or is, or whatever. It is at the intersection of Hasley Canyon Road and Del Val Road in Newhall. There it is right there. And in fact, you can see this path right here. If you look back, you can clearly see that path. A little more pronounced back then. But one other thing about the semi, at some point, you know, it has this man door on the side. At some point, the man door, it normally had a silver frame in season 3. But by season 4, for some reason, the man door was painted. The frame was painted black. So I guess it would blend in more with the trailer. Yeah, and here we're back at College of the Canyons. You can always recognize it when you see these garage doors with the giant numbers on them. That's College of the Canyons, which we've seen a number of times in the show. All right, so then we have the technician here, and these graphics are obviously superimposed to include the misspelled computer override graphic, which we saw way back in KITT in Chariot of Gold in season 1, whenever a brainwashed Bonnie was trying to override KITT. We saw this was misspelled even back then, so they clearly just used the same graphic. All right, so here's another one of KITT's new features, I guess, that we've never seen before. Thermodynamic generator, which somehow remotely heats up tires to the point where they'll explode. But whatever. All right, so Michael and KITT and Bonnie have lured the ferret back to the test track. They come in spinning around and watch this building back here. They actually hit the building. Look at this. See how they hit the building and it kind of crumples the corner and then it cuts. So I bet you there was some damage to the rear quarter of that Trans Am right there. And in fact, look at the background. So this is now the hero car that they've swapped in, but you can see the crack in the plywood right here from where they hit the building. And to end the episode, RC's better, and a nice little nod to his hometown. He gets the Chicago Cubs jacket. All right, guys, that concludes The Wrong Crowd. Certainly a highlight of Season 4, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you enjoy The Wrong Crowd? Are there better Season 4 Knight Rider episodes? Well, yeah, there kind of are, right? Night of the Juggernaut, Killer KITT, 2 of my favorites. But The Wrong Crowd is definitely up there. So I'm glad you joined me for this adventure. So our next episode in Season 4, well, you better prepare your ointment because it's night sting time. All right, that was really, really a bad, corny joke, which is telling me it's time to wrap this up. As always, I really, really appreciate you willing to spend a few minutes with me. I hope you guys enjoy this. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your therapist that Knight Rider Historians is the place to be. All right, guys, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.